The reasons why I am passionate about teaching this particular class is because I have researched disasters, the type of disasters that may be happening, and also the types of situations that we face when a disaster happens. And I have found through my researching that diseases and illnesses spread very easily and are at a much higher rate during a disaster than they are otherwise. And then also we just know that disasters are happening more and more, so I just feel like now is definitely a great time for us to be prepared. And that we need to just stop and realize that storing food won't be enough during or for a disaster, because illnesses are just so prevalent during those times that it's important to take into consideration that we ought to store some remedies within our home so that we can treat ourselves or our families more effectively, especially in a situation where doctors are unavailable or prescription medications are unavailable. The reason why I am so into these remedies and stuff is because for 7 years I suffered with Lyme disease. I was misdiagnosed by the medical community as having nothing more than depression, which I knew was not the case because I was literally slowly dying and withering away. And it took me another 4 years, even seeing other alternative and natural doctors, to figure out what exactly was happening in my body and why I was just slipping away. And finally, they diagnosed me as having Lyme disease, and I was able to treat it more effectively. But I do admit that I'm still at the tail end of having Lyme disease. My immune system still does not work like it should. Lyme disease is one of the most complicated and misdiagnosed diseases in today's world. And but I know that this is a part of my plan that Heavenly Father has for me, and not for my benefit, but for yours and other people, because I was the perfect guinea pig for figuring out what the most effective alternative remedies are that are out there that actually would do something for a complicated disease like Lyme disease. So, a quick quote by Elder Ballard. He says, "Face the future with optimism. I believe we are standing on the threshold of a new era of growth, prosperity, and abundance. Barring a calamity or unexpected international crisis, I think the next few years will be a resurgence in the world economy as new discoveries are made in communication, medicine, energy, transportation, physics, computer technology, and other fields of endeavor. Many of these discoveries, as in the past, will be the result of the Spirit whispering insights into and enlightening the minds of truth-seeking individuals." One reason why I really love this quote is because, I have found that not only are the ancient herbal remedies or the ancient clays that we're able to use from the earth for our health benefit something that we should turn to, but it's also recent scientific breakthroughs that are happening. I think it's best if we not just only use or recommend essential oils or even just herbs, I think we need to look at everything. What all do we have available to us, whether it's scientifically created in a lab or whether it is a plant that can be grown in our backyard. So 5 reasons to store alternative remedies. It gives us an alternate option to storing antibiotics. Storing antibiotics is super important. We need that for lots of different reasons and life-saving reasons. And we can't store them. I've asked. I've gone to doctors and just because I wanted to hear the answer. I already felt like I knew the answer, but I just said, can I store remedies? Can I go to you and say, give me a prescription antibiotic because I want to store that in my food storage? And he just looked at me, no. Are you serious? I just needed to make sure so I could tell people this isn't an option. It's not an option. And besides that, they say, they even say when you get an antibiotic for like an ear infection or something or whatever you're getting an antibiotic for, not to store it. That's not even safe. Not to give it to somebody else. That's not even safe. So it's great to have alternative options to antibiotics. Number 2, medical help and prescription medicines may not be available. We need other options. Number 3, it supports and heals the bodies in time of illness. Number 4, it increases our chance for survival and optimal health. Number 5, if diarrheal diseases, small wounds, respiratory diseases, and constipation are some of the main killers during a disaster, we need to have just simple remedies or tools available to help treat those things so that we don't die from something as silly as a small cut or constipation or something like that. To me, it makes me so mad when my kids choke. I think I would be so mad. I get mad afterwards. I say, I would be so mad if you died on that peanut butter sandwich. Like, that would just be so dumb. Like, I just think it's silly to die from something silly. Let's avoid that if we can. Okay, so all of the remedies that I recommend in my book and that I'll be talking about right now, they fall into 5 different categories. Alternative is one of them. Now, alternative remedies can be considered any of these. It's basically just, how do I explain it? Any remedies used, it's just a remedy used instead of standard medical treatments. So really all of these can be considered alternative remedies, but just because I have other groups, I just, whatever's outside of those groups, I consider them the alternative remedies. So, for instance, we have the essential oils category, and those are concentrated liquids containing medicinal compounds from plants. Right? I think most of us are familiar with essential oils. They're just super powerful and strong oils that have been taken from parts of the plant to create a medicinal liquid. Herbs, those are just, either the flowers or leaves of plants. Homeopathic remedies, that one's kind of a hard one for me to explain. Most people make the mistake of thinking that homeopathic means herbal. It's not. There's a difference. Homeopathic remedies are a very specific remedy that the man who created it, he says that you fight off like with like. So whatever your symptoms are, you take these little pellets that contain either a mineral or some sort of compound, whether it comes from plant or such, in such a diluted form that really it can't hurt you. Like, for instance, some of these homeopathic remedies are used with aluminum or mercury, but they are so diluted that some people even say that it's just the energy of that substance that's in here, not even the substance itself. But by just giving your body a bit of that, a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of that, and it creates the same symptoms as what you have, it kicks out the illness that's creating that symptom. So I'll pass these around.
What is it?
It's called a homeopathic remedy. In the remedy book, I explain all about the homeopathics, and I will go into which ones I feel should be stored based on the diseases that most commonly happen and the ones that cause death most often. Does that make sense? So there's a huge amount of homeopathic remedies you can use. I'm going to just really research that and pull together the ones that I feel will be most beneficial. I have a cool story with that. My daughter... homeopathic remedies really do work, but they're kind of tricky to work. You really have to get the correct one for the right set of symptoms. If you don't, it won't do anything. I've had people say, they don't do anything. No, I'm sorry, I beg to differ. They do if you get it spot on. My daughter, for instance, I've traveled all over the western U.S. seeing different doctors for the Lyme disease and stuff. And so for the last, 2 years ago, for 4 years, my family and I, the only trips that we ever took were the places that we would go to for all the doctor's visits that I was going to. One of them was out in California. I was visiting a doctor out there, and our whole family was with us. And my youngest daughter, she was 5 years old at the time, she had diarrhea, and it was really bad. It was just going every 30 minutes to an hour, and she was so miserable, and it was just hard traveling around with that happening. And I went to this particular doctor, and he gave me a homeopathic remedy for her specific symptoms. And we just gave her 5 beads, because they're just little beads. They're little sugar beads. And I just put those 5 beads under her tongue. And it was a 20-minute drive back to the hotel that we were staying at. And by the time we got to the hotel, she suddenly had a low fever. And she went diarrhea one more time. And then the fever went away, and it was completely gone. She didn't go diarrhea one more time after that. And I knew that it was these homeopathic remedies, because the diarrhea was not slowing down. And so I just thought, oh my goodness, I think there really is something to this. And then I've used them again and again for different issues, sometimes with success, sometimes not with success, but most often we've used them successfully. But really the homeopathic remedies are more of a side thing. To me, this is more of okay, take this into consideration as well. It's the other remedies that I really feel like are the ones that we want to consider storing. Nutritional remedies, they're just just making sure that we have the nutrition that we need to have all biochemical processes functioning properly. So on the next page is the complete list of remedies. There are 41 remedies that I recommend. And now that may seem like a lot, but I promise you, I have been through hundreds of remedies. And it was hard for me to just kind of pull it all down into just 40 remedies. But each one of these has a specific purpose as to why I'm saying we should store them. And I'm not suggesting that you have to store all of them. For example, on this next page where you see the antibacterial remedies, antiviral remedies, antiparasitic, antifungal, this will help give you a guide as to knowing which ones you want to start storing. Just so you make sure, okay, I at least know I have one antibacterial remedy here, or okay, I at least have one antiparasitic remedy here. But interestingly enough, a lot of these remedies, they overlap each other. They contain all or some of the medicinal properties. So you can kind of use that as a guide as to which ones you store. Now, for the complete list of remedies section, I am so sorry, but the resources and cost aren't on here, and I feel so bad about that. I had it in a different section of the book, and I just copied and pasted this to realize that I hadn't put that information in there yet. But we can go over some of these real quick. Most of these can be purchased online or from a health food store, but like ASAP Silver Solution, that one can be purchased from Good Earth. The Asea.
Why is it ASAP? What does that mean?
That's just the brand.
Okay.
That's a particular brand that I like to get because I know that it doesn't cause a condition called agraria, bluing of the skin, when you drink too much of it. I've been in personal contact with the makers of ASAP and the owners of the company, and they are amazing. They really have created an amazing product.
How does that differ from colloidal silver?
If you drink too much of the colloidal silver, you can get the bluing of the skin, but really you'd have to drink cups of it per day. So even colloidal silver is good to take if you want to take that. It's a good antibacterial option. The Asea, this is from an MLM company. I am signed up with them. The website that I tell people to get it from is my website. I do benefit from you purchasing from me, but I promise you, you do not have to purchase it from me. I'm not trying to make money. I am simply trying to share what I feel are the best remedies that Heavenly Father has placed in our hands in today's world. The Asea, when I used this, I got the same die-off reactions from this as I did from $300 worth of IVs per day. There is something incredibly powerful with this. It's subtle but powerful. If you can't, when a disaster happens, I would recommend that people drink it on a maintenance dose just to keep their immune system strong, their glutathione levels up, their redox signaling molecules going. But if you can't afford that, which is totally understandable, at least have a box of it for emergency situations where somebody's really ill.
What's the shelf life for that?
They say a year, but really it's longer than that. Because they're FDA approved, they have to have a shelf life on there, so they say a year. But really, it's so stable that you can heat it to a boiling point or freeze it, and it doesn't ruin anything in it. It still is as effective.
So how long more than a year?
I don't know. I can't say. I have to be careful with what I say. So if you can boil it or freeze it and not have it.
How long would you predict it would?
I would say 2-3 years would be a good. I have 2 or 3 years for myself. So the Asea, that can be purchased from my website. What is it? cellconnection.teamasea.com. Baking soda can be purchased from anywhere. Bentonite clay, you can go to redmondclay.com and see what stores they sell it in. The essential oils, all essential oils that I recommend in here, I have 3 main companies that I recommend people get their essential oils from. doTERRA is one of them. They too are an MLM company. But I have used these oils not just topically, and especially internally for combating the Lyme disease. And I have felt, I have felt which ones make a physical difference and which ones are more effective than other ones. There's one other brand that I was using, I won't mention the name of it, but they weren't as effective. There was a definite difference. So doTERRA is my #1 recommendation. Young Living and Nature's Fusions are the next ones. Young Living, you can purchase those. Just go to youngliving.com. And doTERRA, I have a link to that. I'm signed up with them, but just get them from anywhere. I'll links on my site and stuff, but just get those from anywhere.
Does
And
Good Earth carry these kinds of things, essential oil?
What's that?
Does Good Earth carry those
I was just about to get there. They don't carry doTERRA and Young Living because those two are MLM companies as well. But they do carry Nature's Fusions, which is my third recommendation, and they are half the price of those oils. I don't feel like they're quite like right up to the level that they're at, but they're still incredibly effective, and they're half the cost, and you can just get it at the health food store.
Do you know if their company recommends ingestion of those oils?
The Nature's Fusions, I don't know if they do or not. I don't know if they do, but I personally take them internally because I trust them. I've looked into them enough and trust their whole process and the purity of their oils. I can say that I don't feel like they're as pure as doTERRA, but if you are on a super tight budget and you want to get some of these in your food storage and they're half the price as doTERRA's or Young Living's, then at least go that route. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go through all of these. A lot of these are held at the health food store, or you can get them online. Golden Seal, when I say Golden Seal, I mean the Golden Seal tincture. Tincture. So it's like you can buy herbal remedies that are in tincture form. So they use alcohol or vinegar or glycerin as a base. So it's kind of a strong solution of this, and you only have to use so many drops in order to get a dose of it.
The GSE.
It is, I was just going to go over that. We're getting there, but it's grapefruit seed extract. It is a great alternative option to antibiotics.
I haven't seen it in that.
Yeah, so I didn't say this, but I'm not just recommending these remedies based off of my own experiences. I backtracked and I went through and asked all of my favorite doctors. I asked pharmacists, medical doctors, naturopathic doctors, other health specialists, physician assistants, and Good Earth, my favorite Good Earth employees. What would you store in your food storage? What would your number one things be that you would recommend people store? And it was fun because most of them, it was exactly with what I was agreeing with. But then they also came up with some extra other options. I thought, oh, yes, amazing. This totally needs to be in the book. People totally need to know about this. So GSC is one of these. One of my favorite, most knowledgeable people at Good Earth, I asked her, what would you store? And she said, definitely grapefruit seed extract because it's just such a strong antibiotic. So antibiotic and alternative, I should say. Okay, so the list of 41 remedies, I realized that it can be rather staggering and overwhelming. And so I just created, let's simplify it a little bit. What are the top 10 remedies that I feel like people should make sure that they have stored? And actually, you know what? It's not even 10, it's 15. That's funny. It says top 10 remedies, but then there's 15 listed. Top 15 remedies. I couldn't just break it down to 10. That's not possible. Only because, they're treating so many different things, right? The bentonite clay, for example. Okay, this isn't an antibiotic, but you can use this to pull parasites out of your body, pull toxins out of your body. You can use this for radiation exposure, and you can, bentonite clay, and you can turn this into a paste and apply it to large wounds to pull out, to help it to heal and to, what am I trying to say? And to keep bacteria or infection from developing.
Where do you find that on here, Betsy?
redmondclay.com. Look up and see where they sell it. I know that Real Foods out in Orem sells it. So my top 10 remedies are ASAP silver. In my book, I have a huge list of ways that you can use the silver, all the way from strep throat to skin infections to using as a preventative, using for illnesses, all types of illnesses, and using for respiratory infections in the nebulizer. And I'll talk about the nebulizer in a little bit. The Asea is another big one. I'm telling you, there's something powerful about that. And here's the thing, though. I have a chapter in my book, and I go over it. I don't know if most of you are familiar with this, but there's the Hans Mill massacre story where Amanda's son, his hip was shot off, and she had to treat that on her own. She had no clue what to do. So I had read that story years ago, and I thought, that is a really neat story. But then I had reread it, and I just felt like Heavenly Father opened my mind to some really important truths about that. And I list what those truths are that I felt like I needed to share with other people in the book. But one in particular is that she used more than one remedy. She didn't just use one. Once you're treating the body, especially once it comes to something that's pretty extreme, and you're using alternative methods, you're going to want to use more than one. So the Asea is a good foundational one. It can get rid of viruses and stuff like that, but it also is just like, hey, let's strengthen our body here, and then let's also pull in something else on the side. So if we have a respiratory infection, we can take a golden still tincture or an Oregon grapefruit tincture as a remedy on top of that. And the book really goes over all of that. There's no way we can all just retain it and I can share it all right now, because there are so many options available to us as to how to use these and what to use these for. And then in my book, I even go over general illnesses and maladies. So, okay, let's take burns. Now, here is the conventional way of treating burns. Now, let's use any of the remedies that I've recommended. What can we do with any of those remedies and use that for a burn? And then, there's all sorts of like diarrheal disease, constipation. I don't even know. I go through a ton. Even near-death, people who are near-death situations where they're extremely ill. What can we do for a person? And of course, this is all based on the fact that there isn't medical help available, and like the internet's down, we can't look up stuff. What do I do for a nearly dead person, right? No, this is the book that you want to turn to, that you will want to turn to. And we'll talk about what we can do for somebody like that in a minute when we go over the tools. Thieves essential oil, breathe essential oil. I was taking the respiratory infections into consideration here when I recommend the breathe essential oil. Lipospheric vitamin C is an amazing substance. I didn't bring it with me, I'm sorry, but you just get these little packages of the liposomal vitamin C. It's like I want to say like a gel, like an orange, yellowish colored gel type substance. This, by creating a liposomal vitamin C, it allows your body to absorb 100% of the vitamin C. The way that it's made, our bodies are able to fully assimilate and use the vitamin C, and it bypasses the digestive system. Normally when we take vitamin C orally, it has to go through our digestive system, and we can only absorb or use so much of it. But vitamin C is an incredibly powerful tool for healing ourselves, especially in an extreme situation where someone is severely ill. In fact, I think there's a Dateline interview. I think it was Dateline that did it, about a man who had the H1N1 virus, and he almost died. And his sons, he had 3 sons. His 3 sons just begged the doctors, please let him have vitamin C. Can we give him vitamin C intravenously? Because he already had an IV hooked up and stuff. He was so sick that he was in a coma, and he was on machines keeping him going. So his sons begged the doctors to add some vitamin C to his IV, and he started making remarkable improvements after that. Well, the doctors had issues with it. They didn't want to give him as much as they were telling him to give him. And then he ended up getting transferred to a different hospital, and they were even more strict about doing that. So they said, we have to do something. That was helping him. And so they bought the lipospheric vitamin C packets. And I think he only took like 3 or 4 a day. And he had miraculous results after that. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen every time. It just won't. Our bodies don't work that way because our bodies are so different. Whatever our genetic makeup is, whatever our illnesses that we're fighting off, however strong our immune systems are, we can't just say, oh, take the Asea and it'll work for everybody every time. It just doesn't work that way. That's why we want to kind of make sure we have a variety of remedies. But lipovitamin C is a good one. So the Yarrow, there's an anti-plague remedy. It's Dr. Christopher's anti-plague formula. It's really strong stuff, but it's good to have on hand. There's oregano essential oil. That's a great antibiotic alternative as well. Slippery elm is great because you can apply that into deep wounds, and you can also take it internally as a drink for just like a nutritional food for someone who's really ill and isn't eating. Activated charcoal is amazing for a variety of things. Snake bites, pulling toxins, radiation out of the body. Zeolite. It's funny, the zeolite is funny because I had my list of remedies. I said, Heavenly Father, is there anything else? Anything else that I need to share with others? Anything else that people need to know about? And it was the zeolite. That was a very, very strong answer. Interesting enough, it is, I think...
What is zeolite?
It's just like this. It's a powder, but you can also buy it in spray form. So I get this from Natural Healthy Concepts. It's called ACZ Nano, maybe I should say nano, Nano. So they make it as a spray, but you can also buy it as a powder. It's like a clay. and it is very effective in getting rid of radiation out of our bodies. So, baking soda is another amazing one. People used to use baking soda to get better before remedies were around. I tell you like how much to take. I don't have it in my brain. I can't just ramble off how much to take. It's in the book. Grapefruit seed extract, we talked about that. The digestive blend oil is amazing for diarrhea and things like acid reflux or any digestive upset. You can take that internally. And of course, have a good multivitamin, liquid minerals on hand, and tools. We'll go over the tools in a minute. So then I have a list of alternatives to antibiotics right there. So what this list is out of all the remedies that I have, I'm telling you which ones are the ones that can be used as an antibiotic, just so you're not wondering and guessing, right? So it's just nice and clear right there. Now, we're going to go over the tools. It's kind of at the end of the book. And I apologize for the image that's in here. I threw in some protocols. So I threw in 2. I think I said there were 3. Oh no, it doesn't say. So the dehydration protocol, this is taken directly from my book. So this is what you do for somebody with dehydration, right? Heavenly Father taught me how important it is to keep somebody hydrated by using my daughter as the guinea pig in this situation. She was really sick, had the flu. The flu was gone by that time. She didn't have diarrhea anymore or anything, but she couldn't recover. She wasn't recovering. She wasn't drinking very good. You know, you're told, make sure they get clear fluids, make sure they get clear fluids. So I was giving her water. And then I'm like, okay, I know she needs more than that because she wasn't eating anything. So I started giving her coconut water for the electrolytes or salt water for the electrolytes. And it just wasn't enough. She got in a really bad position where she was just... she was just freaking out, and I didn't, we put her to bed, and half an hour later, she was just screaming and crying hysterically. That is not like my daughter at all. And she was just like climbing up on me, kind of like, get me out of my body, something's really wrong here. We took her straight to Primary Children's, and they tested her, and I had taken her to the doctor earlier that day, and he said, oh, she looks a little dehydrated, but it should be fine. She was having a lot of stomach pain, so he said, I'll order some tests at the other hospital, and you can go there if you want to. And I just thought, I don't think we need tests. I couldn't put my finger on what was going on that was wrong, but we took her up to Primary Children's, and they did some blood work. They gave her IVs right away, but when they did the blood work, they found that her electrolyte levels were so low. They said normally when we see a child like this come in here, they look terrible, like on their deathbed. And then they started questioning me, like as if it was my fault, started asking me questions. So, sorry, we just need to ask you. And had more people come in. I thought, what? I was trying so hard. I was doing exactly what my doctor was telling me to do. And anyways, that's when I realized that electrolyte levels, keeping those up, are super, super important. And so when dehydration happens, you want to make sure those are up. If a person isn't drinking, one of the most amazing good tools that we can have, although it may sound totally extreme, is an enema. So you fill up the enema bag with electrolytes, or one of the other tools is a rectal syringe. That's meant for smaller kids or just smaller dosages, so to speak. You get that into the digestive system, up into the colon, and the body's able to absorb those things. And they're able to they're able to become hydrated and get the electrolytes that they need. And the cool thing is that you can use some of these remedies in the enemas or the rectal syringe fluid so that you're getting medicines into them as well. Yes, we're done. Okay, good. I thought you were coming to tell me we're done. Things are going great. We're almost done. So we talked about the enema bag and the rectal syringe. The DMSO, I guess I didn't grab that. I did. It's just a white bottle. It says DMSO on it. Okay, how do I explain what DMSO is? It's a liquid that you can mix other medicines or vitamins into, and when spread on the skin, you get immediate absorption of whatever is mixed into it. So to me, this is a powerful tool to have on hand for somebody who's extremely sick, not taking things orally, just trying to get nutrients into their system. You mix it into the DMSO and apply that to their skin, and their body immediately absorbs that. The next one is a sinus rinse bottle, only because sinus infections are so prevalent. Even if we don't have medicines to try to treat that, we can at least keep our sinuses rinsed to keep the bacteria from proliferating and becoming a huge problem. Stethoscope and blood pressure pump is another great instrument to have on hand. Spray bottle, that's such a simple thing, but is so necessary. You can put your like Asea or ASAP in the spray bottle and spray it on wounds or injuries. Okay, 2 last things and then we're done. So, skin derm. No, not skin derm. What did I write skin derm on there? That's funny. It's called Saniderm, Saniderm. So this is like a tape that you can apply to your skin to close up wounds. So if you have something that's requiring stitches, you clean it off, of course. You wash it out very thoroughly, and then you dry it off, and you apply this really super thin. It's not this. This is just the backing, the other parts on here. You apply this sticker, so to speak, onto the wound, and it's breathable, so it allows it to breathe. It doesn't get too wet. You can take showers with it and everything, and it just allows that wound to heal close. So it's kind of like a really good alternative to having to use stitches or give somebody stitches. And the people in my ward make this. It's the Hughes, Natalie and Scott Hughes. They don't make it. This is just their product. This is sold or used in hospitals, but they make it affordable. Okay, and then the last word, Saniderm. Okay, the last tool that I just find to be extremely useful and beneficial is this battery-operated nebulizer. And the reason why is because respiratory infections are one of the #1 diseases that we run into during a disaster. And it's good to take the medicines orally, but to be able to get the medicine straight into your lungs is a whole other area of healing that will allow you to heal more quickly, especially for diseases such as respiratory diseases that are so quickly spread. So this, in my book, I list the remedies that can be used for the nebulizer. The 2 main ones are the ASAP Silver and the Asea, but you can even use specific glutathione capsules and use glutathione. And you can use, what's one of the other ones? There's one other one. I can't think of it right now. But, you just turn it on and the mist comes out and you breathe it in. And not only is that incredibly beneficial for respiratory illnesses, but you're also getting this medicine into your body on a systemic level. So think of those who are so ill or whatever it be that they can't take medicines orally. This is just a way to get medicine into the body, period. And so the ASAP and Asea are great for that as well. And that was a lot of information that I threw out really quickly, but hopefully that'll, help you guys know what you want to store, and hopefully you guys have learned a few things that you feel are valuable. I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, I'll be at the booth after. On my website, beyondwheatandweeds.com, there's a sample of the book that you can download. By the end of next Saturday, we're going on vacation this next week. By the end of next Saturday, I'm going to have the resources and cost on there. So you can have all those listed right there. So you can just download it and have it up. Because I do have that page uploaded on there right now, but it too doesn't have the resources and cost. So, but yeah, I don't have like packages or anything. Just go to the different stores and buy them.
So the vitamin C powder, do you recommend having that more than vitamin C?
I recommend having both. There was a study done, and this is going to be put in my book. No, I'm sorry, it's not a study. It was just an experience that a doctor had in treating especially little children with severe health situations. So there was a mother who came in, and this was done like 50 years ago, just so you know, but or 40 years ago. But he had mothers bring their children to him and say they were really bad. They were about to die. The doctors had said there's nothing else we can do, and all he did was give them huge, massive doses of vitamin C. And now you do have to be careful because it can cause diarrhea and some digestive upset. But he built up to it. He gave them large doses of it. And the reason why, what I'm getting at is the reason why I recommend this is it's a good preventative, first of all. We all know that, vitamin C. It's a good preventative for colds, flus. Up your dose if you have a cold or flu. That's a great thing to do. But for instance, if you give somebody lipospheric vitamin C and it kicks that disease or illness out of their body. So lipospheric vitamin C is expensive. It's $1 per packet. You buy it in a box that has 30 packets in it. I'm just thinking of cost-wise. I'm thinking of what's practical and doable here. So you give them the lipospheric vitamin C. It kicks out the disease or illness. You've seen that it works effectively. And then you taper off. So you use less packets of the lipospheric vitamin C, and then until you're like down to 1 per day, and then you can start using this vitamin C. So, because you probably, does that make sense? Just because this is less expensive than the lipospheric vitamin C. You can, by all means, taper off using only the lipospheric vitamin C, like you're using 4 packets a day, then you go down to 3, then 2, then 1. But then just kind of keep that vitamin C in their system, just so that disease or illness doesn't kick back into action.
So how are you giving it to them? I'm just confused about the
this
powder versus like...
Oh, you know what? I'll go over that in my book. You can do either one, the powder or capsules. With the powder, it is kind of nice because for children, you can just mix it into water and have them drink it down.
That's more the purpose of that then?
Yes, and then also you can put it into empty capsules. Empty capsules are supposed to be one of the things that I have on my tools list for this handout. So just because taking the essential oils, if you're taking them as an antibiotic and you're taking them internally, it's really strong stuff. You want to take it in a capsule. So put it in an empty vegetable capsule. Good Earth has them. You can find them anywhere online. And you take it that way. Good. Well, thanks for coming. That was fun. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks for doing it. I'm going to take a picture.
Yeah.
Of some of this stuff. That's okay.
Yep, definitely.
That's a charcoal. This is again.